Now, Attorney General and Minister of Justice Alpha Cisse has read the Constitution of Sierra Leone Amendment Act 2025 in the Well of Parliament after pre-legislative hearing on same. The bill seeks to amend clauses within the 1991 Constitution. The House, however, didn't commence any major work on the bill, stating it is still open to receiving more position papers to ensure inclusion of the views of all into the bill. Meanwhile, Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Sengepo Solomon Thomas, urges all MPs to stay calm and be decorous, also emphasizing embracing procedures. Samuel Tony Sawyer reports from Parliament.
After a long session of crucial engagement in Committee Room 1 yesterday, the House welcomed amendments to the 1991 Constitution for proper parliamentary work to be accorded it. As such, Minister of Justice Alpha Cisse approaches lawmakers for legality.
Honourable members of Parliament, I move that the bill entitled the Constitution of Sierra Leone Amendment Act 2025 be read the first time.
Having asked the House to read for the first time, and the House so do, the bill still remains untouched owing to its crucial nature more papers.
We are still encouraging the members of the public to send in their position paper on the Constitutional Amendment Bill. So far, Mr. Speaker, we received only 3 position papers. And we are encouraging members of the press to broadcast that far and wide.
This nature will also encourage the public to advise Parliament on some of these issues. Don't just go to the social media and start writing against one political party or the other. If you have your views on some of these issues, the law dictates that you present your position paper to Parliament. Of course, you cannot come to Parliament to present your position and debate in Parliament because you were not elected by the people of Sierra Leone.
Touching on the sensitivity of the bill, Speaker of the 6th Legislature, Honorable Sengepo Solomon Thomas, encouraged MPs to be decorous and to abide by parliamentary procedures.
And we do not agree on any particular issue, then the procedure states or dictates that we go into elections to be able to know the majority view on that particular matter. I urge all of you to remain calm because I know constitutional matters are very serious matters. Because we have allowed ourselves to be, to be inspired by members of the public or analysts, so-called analysts on issues. So please exercise patience, present your points calmly, and at the end of the day, if we do not agree, I'm repeating this so that we all know, because we are all honorable members of Parliament. I don't want a situation where we come to a meeting here or in Committee Room 1 and I see people start fighting.
For the House of Parliament, the task at hand is very huge, the expectation high. The public with eagles high gaze on the actions of Parliament, anticipating the superseding of national interest than that of any parties. Samuel Tony Sawyer, AYV News, Freetown.
Sierra Leone's 1991 Constitution, which ushered in multi-party democracy, has guided the nation for over 3 decades. It's once again under national review as calls for reform continue to grow. Today, the Ministry of Information and Civic Education, during its weekly press briefing at the Miata Civic Center in Freetown, engaged public on the ongoing constitutional review process. Discussions focused on proposed reforms, citizens' participation, and what a new and improved constitution could mean for Sierra Leone's democratic future. Our reporter, Tene Kagbu, has more.
The long-standing 1991 Constitution of Sierra Leone, which has provided a framework for democratic governance for more than 30 years, is now under review as the nation embarks on a critical process of constitutional reform. As the review progresses, citizens are emphasizing that the process should prioritize the collective interest of Sierra Leone and its people rather than political considerations. Many believe the constitution must reflect national values, safeguard fundamental rights, and strengthening democratic institutions beyond electoral circles. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice Alpha Sise provides insight into the overall objectives and highlights some key provisions on the review.
The overall objective is to develop a constitution that strengthens the government framework of our country. One significant addition is the inclusion of the provisions from the GUI Act regarding government positions into the national constitution. Other proposals include the right to education, moving it from Chapter 1, where it is currently mentioned as a directive principle, to Chapter 3.
But we will move on to Chapter 3, may become a justiciable right.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice continues to update the public on the status of the constitutional reform bill.
This morning, I led the bill in Parliament for its first reading. Before doing so, yesterday, my team, the Minister and I, attended a pre-legislative hearing in Parliament where we discussed the provisions of the bill, received questions from the members of Parliament and the public. We gathered feedbacks to inform the next stages of the process.
We want thought process into this.
Speaking on behalf of women, girls, and young people, Maria Majalo, National Director of the Young Women in Governance Network, shares her expectations for how this law should serve the interest of women, girls, and young people.
In terms of women's representation, we want to see a clear mandate for the 30% quota provision in whichever electoral system the country adopts. We also want to ensure that young people have increased access to technical, vocational, and skills-based training.
Vocational training. Citizens are looking forward to actively participating in the constitutional review process, urging all stakeholders to make decisions in the best interest of Sierra Leone, setting aside political affiliations and political considerations. Senekagbo, AYV News, Freetown.
As constitutional and electoral reforms continue ahead of the 2028 general elections, the Political Parties Regulation Commission (PPRC) says it is intensifying efforts to ensure political parties operate strictly within the laws and regulations of the country. Speaking on the reform process, the Executive Secretary of PPRC, Olusegun Davis, said the Commission is guided by the 1991 Constitution and the Political Parties Act of 2022, with a strong focus on fairness, equity, and political pluralism. Here's an excerpt from Wake Up Sierra Leone program.
A provision within the Tripartite Committee's recommendation that speaks around the enforcement of the codes of conduct of political parties. The codes of conduct are an embodiment of the Political Parties Act number 25 of 2022. And as a commission, we've not reneged when it comes to enforcement of the codes of conduct. So it's just, as a commission, we just see it as a reminder of our sacred responsibility. Quite apart from that, there was also something that deals with the most thorny recommendation. That's recommendation 70, that deals with the registration of political parties in a circumstance they are unable to actually win seats in 2 consecutive elections. That's not for us personally, it's for the political parties. But as a commission, we hold the view that we don't want to close this political space because as provided for in sections 12.2 of the Political Parties Act, we are equally charged with responsibility of promoting political pluralism by the provisions of the Act. And in all we do, we are not bounded, we are not coerced, we are not compelled, we are not compromised by any institutions, group of persons, as the case may be. In all we do, we are focused on the provisions of the Act. And that's the reason when we've not been in banter with political parties. No, we haven't. What we've been able to do is to ensure that we uphold the very law that the people of Sierra Leone give to the Commission. You know, it behoves us as members of the PPIC to ensure that we protect the sacredness and sanctity of our political environment. And that's the reason why we are paid from the taxpayers' resources. So it's our responsibility to ensure that we keep our political players in tune with the provisions of the law, to provide a level playing field for every member of political parties, irrespective of your size or volume or your financial capability. That is what we are as a commission. That is who we are, and that's our responsibility.
Well, as Sierra Leone edges closer to the 2028 general elections, political parties are intensifying preparations amid constitutional reform proposals that could reshape the country's electoral process. Speaking on Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV, the national chairman and leader of the National Grand Coalition NGC, Mohamed Kouma, raised concerns about what he described as an exclusionary constitutional review process. He also criticized the composition of the tripartite committee, warning that reforms largely driven by the APC and SLPP risk marginalizing smaller political parties and deepening political polarization. Here's an excerpt of the program.
In our lower level elections, right across the country, by Saturday we'll be having over 8,000 executive members just from the ward level. So we are not dormant. And one thing we need to practice in this country is we are into political mode at any time. After elections, I think the party should be going to getting themselves ready. Those that have won, let them focus in governance. Those that lost, let them focus in rebuilding their parties for democracy. Some political parties, even now the Western world, some political parties can say purposely follow present presidential candidates for win election. They get specific thing they argue about. Say, okay, we own party now for climate change. So, and for them, they focus on climate change. Some other parties can say, nah, this now me own. So those voices must be heard. So you cannot just come and say, okay, look, wipe out. This shows the greediness between these two political parties, because they think that, okay, they own Sierra Leone. And statistics shows that overwhelming, over 35% of Sierra Leoneans, they are not into either of these parties. And they know this fact. So why are they claiming this country? The PR is not our concern. What our concern is the threshold. The benchmark was too high, and then we said our position is really clear. We can only support a PR system that the threshold is lowered, because over 11% threshold, come on, nationwide, and then you might not know how the calculation is being done to arrive at. So we will not, that's our position.
What percentage would work for NGC?
Well, the percentage, we are now, this is not only about NGC now. We are working with all the other 15 political parties. We are now together. We are now discussing now. We've put on the position paper that the threshold has to be reduced. And that's our position paper. And when it comes to the actual, because we are partners in this, and we should not be isolated. And you say cherry picking says, okay, now then today I no more, now they're supposed to participate. Like